Archaeologists are building preparatory trenches at Hill 80 near Wijtschate, Belgium, where World War I combat was severe. The Messines Ridge land changed hands 4 times during the war. The archaeologists gingerly delve into the earth and discover a well-preserved World War I site and somber proof of the war's savagery. Hello everyone. In this video, we embark on an extraordinary journey to the historic Flanders fields, where archaeologists delve deep into the soil, unearthing a chilling discovery that would send shivers down their spines. But before we start, make sure to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon for regular updates. Let's get started. Germans expelled British and French defenders from after World War I. German forces took the Messines Ridge, a strategic height that controlled the adjacent Flanders farmlands. Over time, earth covered the battlefield surrounding Wijtschate, erasing the events at Hill 80 between 1914 and 1918. Almost 100 years later, developers bought land near Wijtschate to build new houses on Hill 80. Belgian construction and archaeology laws took effect. Developers must perform archaeological surveys before building. In 2015, Simon Vertigem was hired to do a preliminary study of Hill 80, and the results astonished them. When they excavated short trenches to see what was under the Flanders turf, they found a major World War I German defensive position atop Hill 80, and considering it was a century old, the system of trenches and bunkers appeared remarkably well kept. Vertigem was eager to see this site properly explored, but the developers were only prepared to spend a limited amount on archaeology, which would mean any investment in archaeology would be wasted. British celebrities backed resourceful Verdigris. Dan Snow, a respected TV historian, and Al Murray, a popular comedian with a history degree from Oxford University, both supported the appeal. Once all the contributions were added up, the appeal had raised more than $200,000, exceeding its target of $160,000. The appeal has attracted nearly 3,000 donors. Hill 80 was protected, and the project began in April 2018. The first crowd-funding appeal for an archaeology project was successful. The British and French built defensive posts along the Messines Ridge, which the Germans attacked on October 20, 1914, changing everything. After a few days of tough combat, the Germans gained the Messines Ridge, including Hill 80 at Wijtschate, and much of the defensive around Wijtschate, which British soldiers called Wijtschate, fell to the 1st London Scottish Regiment, which arrived on October 31. The Scottish was sent to support the 4th Cavalry Brigade, which was holding the line around Wijtschate. The Scots set up on the height of the ridge under heavy fire. They held on against repeated German attacks through the night. But eventually, after close-quarter combat, they were forced back at the cost of some 400 dead and wounded. The Germans now held the strategic heights of the Messines Ridge at Wijtschate, which gave them uninterrupted views across enemy lines. The first step in recovering Wijtschate was a complex mining operation, in which sappers dug tunnels through Flanders clay to the German fortifications 100 feet below the surface. The water tables were uneven. After the 3-mile tunnels were completed, Canadian, New Zealand, Australian, and British miners labored underground. On May 21, 1917, the artillery attacked the German positions before the British infantry invasion began on June 7. In his 1921 book, 300 heavy mortars and 2,000 guns pounded the Germans. Press and General Staffer Neville Lytton quoted a Messines offensive commander. General Sir Charles Harrington had spotted him. "We'll change geography," he was discussing German-made explosives. At 3:10 a.m., engineers exploded 19 huge mines, 20 minutes after the artillery barrage. British Prime Minister Lloyd George heard the hilltop destroying blast in his London home. It was heard in Dublin, where 10,000 Germans died in mine explosions. British and colonial infantrymen attacked the stunned German defenders, and more artillery shells and poison gas projectiles fell on the German positions in front of them. The fortified German position at Wijtschate, near the center of the line of attack, had been severely damaged by the artillery bombardment that preceded the infantry assault, so it was left to the Irishmen of a couple of 16th Division battalions to seize the village. They soon overwhelmed what was left of the shattered German defenses. The Western Front is about incompetent leadership and futile attacks that gain little ground. The Messines Ridge attack succeeded. The operation had achieved its goals in around half a day, and the Messines Ridge was secured and its commanding heights denied to the German forces that had occupied them for nearly 3 years. The fighting wasn't over yet, however, and the Germans mounted a counterattack the day after the British seizure of the Messines Ridge. The Germans returned to Wedge about a year later in the German Army's major spring offensive of April 1918 and retook control of the village. It was September before the British managed to retake the village for the final time, with help from American soldiers, and the end of World War I was just weeks away. Due to its uniqueness and exceptional preservation of buried ancient relics, Hill 80 has been termed the First World War's Pompeii. The archaeologists discovered a complex collection of trenches in part because the site, which covers nearly 3 acres, had changed hands so many times. One factor in particular contributed greatly to the site's extraordinary level of preservation. A large portion of the area hadn't been plowed since World War I ended in 1918. When the Germans seized it, the most compelling evidence for this was the presence of French small arms. Other artifacts also emerged from Flanders clay when the researchers carefully dug into it. Vertigem wrote in every excavation campaign that you know that it can happen, but every time it does, it knocks you off your feet just for a few seconds, and then you switch back to work mode and make sure you do it right because every detail counts, and the archaeologist explained why it was so important to meticulously describe everything uncovered during the dig. The more information you gather, the more human remains you yield. Researchers found these in 430 shell holes and 1,800 feet of trenches on October 10, 2019, more than 100 years later. After these soldiers died in the Flanders mud, some were laid to rest with a full military ceremony at 11 a.m., the final casket, put into the graves after World War I, contained 11 British and Commonwealth troops' meager bones. After the British funerals, 73 Germans were buried, including 17-year-old Private Albert Errol. Simon Vertigem told The Guardian that some of the remains were just scattered bones. Pompeii is different, yet it relates to finding wedding rings, purses, glasses, and rosary beads. That's it for today. What do you think about this incredible discovery? Let us know in the comments section. Please like and share our videos. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon for regular updates.